Okay, let me total this. Room on Disney property, meals, park tickets. What's this charge for Lightning Lanes? All right, you might already know that Disney has officially said bye Felicia to FastPass lanes and replaced them with Lightning Lanes. And those lanes cost money. Yep, you now have to pay to skip the standby line in Disney World. Along with the new Genie Plus Lightning Lanes you can get for paying a flat $15, there are 8 additional pay-per-ride options, or as Molly calls them, fancy rides, for Disney World's most popular in-demand rides. So, which of these 8 rides are actually worth the extra cost? Hey everybody, it's Chris for AllEars TV and AllEars.net. Today we're ranking the best fancy rides in Disney World according to AllEars readers. And we went straight to AllEars.net readers and social media followers to compile this list directly from you to help your fellow viewers decide which of these fancy ride Lightning Lanes are worth the price tag. Your pick for the 4th best fancy ride in Disney World: Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Epcot's newest ride, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, opened on October 1st along with Disney World's 50th anniversary. Remy is part of the newly expanded France Pavilion in the World Showcase, and the ride is all about Remy the Rat from Disney and Pixar's Ratatouille, with the ride queue featuring lots of fun details and even a bit from Chef Gusteau from the film. Right now, Remy uses both a virtual queue system and you can purchase a Lightning Lane pass for an additional cost.
Rachel T said, "We thought it was so cute. World Showcase really needed a new family-friendly attraction, and it is such a fun addition."
Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is so cute. I enjoy it more every time I ride it because I notice more details in the attraction. I think it's a perfect family ride, and Epcot really needed more family experiences, especially in World Showcase, because there's not a lot for young ones to do, and the older ones, we just want to eat and drink, am I right? But this is something everybody in the family can do, and I think it is an adorable attraction that is definitely worth riding.
Remy's Ratatouille Adventure uses a trackless ride system, and the ride story is that guests shrink down to the size of Chef Remy as he tries to escape the clutches of Skinner, the chef antagonist from Ratatouille. The ride is a 4D experience with sensory experiences like heat, water, smells, and more. Remy is also heavily reliant on screens, with the ride vehicle traveling between different scenes of Remy running through Gusteau's. With individual attraction selection, otherwise known as pay-per-ride, you can pay from $9 to $11 depending on the day. Because it's a new ride, there's no standby line. Remy also uses a virtual system that opens at 7 a.m. and again at 1 p.m. as long as you're inside Epcot at that time. If you miss the virtual queue, your only other option is to ride by paying for the Lightning Lane. Kristen D said, "Okay, we were so disappointed. It's definitely cute and I love the trackless thing, but the ride is so quick and you don't even get the storyline. And they absolutely could have done more. We'll ride it again, but we won't go out of our way or pay any money for it."
So if you want to get in the virtual queue, you're going to want to get up early because the first virtual queues drop at 7 a.m. As long as you have a park pass for Epcot, you'll be able to access that virtual queue from wherever you are. You can even be at home in bed, which is usually where I am. And you're gonna wanna get right at 7 a.m. You're gonna wanna tap into that virtual queue. That's your best chance for getting a reasonable time. I can never get a boarding group below 60. I live a life where I'm in boarding group 66, just constantly. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening because I pull up a world clock and I watch it count down to 7 a.m. And then when it hits 7, I do the thing and I'm always in 60. And Molly gets like boarding group 1, boarding group 8. How is she doing that? Now, if you miss the 7 a.m. boarding group drop, which can happen, you do have another opportunity at 1 p.m. to try to get a boarding group for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. To do this, you do have to actively be in Epcot, find a nice quiet place, disconnect from the Disney Wi-Fi because it's a nightmare, and go ahead and get that boarding group in the My Disney Experience app, because I've been able to get boarding groups for Remy's around like 4 p.m., but the thing is, you're getting backup boarding groups, and those don't always get to go on the ride.
I do think it's worth paying for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure if you really want to ride it, as opposed to doing the virtual queue. The virtual queue is great, but Getting the virtual queue doesn't mean you're not going to wait in a line. Typically, the line to return once your group gets called back is still 45 plus minutes, which can be a long time out of your day, especially if you're hopping into Epcot. Speaking of hopping into Epcot, if you're hopping into Epcot, the chance of you getting a virtual queue with the times they're dropped, pretty much non-existent. So if you're going to another park and then ending at Epcot like a lot of people do, you're gonna have to pay for the Lightning Lane if you wanna ride this attraction. When you do pay for the Lightning Lane, you at least lock in a time that's gonna work for you, and then you aren't gonna have to worry about waiting in a line when you get called back.
The pros. You get to walk through the rooftops of Paris with fun details about Ratatouille throughout the line and even an animation of Gusteau. It's a fun 4D experience. When you pass under the oven, you feel the heat. When a mop swishes around, you get a small spray of water. A lot of our readers enjoy trackless rides, and several of them mentioned it as a fun positive of this ride. The cons? You're kind of just traveling between screens, so if you're not a fan of screen-heavy rides, you might not like this one. The only option to ride Remy is by virtual queue or Lightning Lane, and if you miss out on the free virtual queue, your only other option would be to pay to ride. This ride introduces more intellectual property into Epcot's World Showcase, which a lot of people are not happy about. Your pick for the third best fancy ride in Disney World: Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is a dark coaster based on the animated movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, located in Fantasyland in Magic Kingdom. This steel roller coaster is actually somewhat new to Disney World, having opened in May 2014. The line queue is fun and interactive with elements of the dwarves in the mines, like lots of sparkly jewels, and the ride takes guests through a fun tour of the dwarves' mine. What's really fun is that each car swings. Just watch out for that evil queen at the end.
Justin Does Disney said, hands down my favorite coaster at MK. Part dark ride, part coaster. It really does deliver a genuine Disney park experience. With a 38-inch height requirement, it's a perfect coaster for kids after they graduate from Barnstormer University. It has not been around long enough to be badged a classic, but I have a feeling it's well on its way.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is a very cute ride. It's great for kids, especially kids who are just starting out with roller coasters. But I will say that though it does have very long lines, it might not always be worth paying extra for two reasons. One, some people might not consider it a must ride. Those cars can be a little uncomfortable, so if you have any issues with with your comfort on rides, you might want to just keep that in mind. They swing from side to side, they're smaller. The ride is very short. So I don't personally consider Seven Dwarfs Mine Train a must ride. That's one reason I might not pay for it. Another reason I might not pay for it is you can actually catch shorter wait times with this one. You do have to rope drop it if you're a resort hotel guest, because now it opens early for resort hotel guests. If you're not a resort hotel guest, don't rope drop it. Try going during the fireworks, Disney Enchantment, or as your very last ride of the day, and odds are you'll either get a shorter wait or you will not be losing other time in the park while you wait in line after the park is closed and you can do something else anyway, or both.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train costs between $10 to $12 to pay per ride, and it has a 38-inch height requirement that makes it easy for younger kids to ride. As a result, it frequently has one of the longest standby line wait times in Disney World. And considering the ride is only 3 minutes long, the shorter ride can feel like a little bit of a letdown after waiting a long time. Most of the ride queue is outside, so weather can also be a factor if you're visiting on a rainy or very hot day.
One of our readers said, this ride is a must-do when going to Magic Kingdom. My family and I enjoy the thrill the ride brings, and we always try to go on it when we visit. One thing we don't like, though, is that the ride isn't a long one, only about 3 minutes. When you get off, you feel like something is missing.
This is a proprietary ride vehicle designed just for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. They call it a swinging steel coaster, and that's because the actual coaster car that you're in is able to swing independently from the rest of the vehicle. So as you're making turns, it sort of helps get you ergonomically into positions that feel sort of really smooth and more comfortable. And then when the ride settles down for sections, it kind of continues to sway back and forth a little bit, giving you this kind of dancing feeling as you enter the dark ride sections. I used to think they did that mechanically, but then I realized, no, this car just swings by itself, and the sort of momentum from the previous section of the track is what continues to move it as you go into the dark ride section. Very cool.
Okay, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is cute, and I do think it's a great attraction, and I think it's a fun one, especially for your younger ones who are just learning how to ride roller coasters. It's a shorter attraction, though. It's only 3 minutes long, and for me, it's not an absolute must-do in the Magic Kingdom, probably because I don't have a lot of nostalgia tied to it the way I do the other mountains in that park. So for me, this is one that I think you can get on the attraction without a long line if you go early in the morning as a resort guest, or you stay later at night. You can usually get on it towards the end of the evening at a lower weight. So for me, this is one I don't think it's worth it, but if this is a must-do for you and your family, it might be worth it.
The pros. With a lower height requirement than most roller coasters in Disney World, this ride is a fun option for the whole family. The swinging carts elevate this ride a bit more than your standard family-friendly roller coaster. Love Snow White? This ride's for you. There are tons of Snow White details, from the queue to the ride, and even after the ride, where you can catch a glimpse of Snow White dancing with the dwarves. The cons. The ride closes during inclement weather, but if you're waiting outside and it's raining, it's not exactly fun. It's only 3 minutes long, so this might not be the kind of ride that makes a long wait feel worth it or justifies a $10 lightning lane. Your choices are generally going to be to wait a while or pay to skip the line. Not exactly great choices. Your pick for the second best fancy ride in Disney World. Avatar: Flight of Passage. Based in Pandora of Animal Kingdom, the land themed after James Cameron's film Avatar from 2009 is Flight of Passage, a unique 4D ride that uses a screen and motion simulator technology. Based on the characters from Avatar, you don your 3D glasses and board a bike-ish vehicle to fly on a dragon-like animal called a Banshee, all while linked to a Na'vi through the Pandoran jungle. Are you still with me? I know, it's a lot.
Molly's biggest fan says, I don't know where to begin. This ride is just everything you want, thrilling, fun, and unique. With a group of 7 of us, every single one came off and said that this is the best ride we've ever ridden, and that's from a family that rides top thrill dragster without blinking. The ride is insanely impressive, from the technology to the graphics to the projections, to the smells to everything. How it doesn't have a perfect 10 out of 10 rating or a 100% recommendation is beyond me.
All right, Avatar Flight of Passage. Let's lay it all out. You're going to do a flight of passage, which is where you connect with a Na'vi, one of the blue alien people, and you fly through the sky on the back of a Banshee, which is a scary horse dragon. I think if you live, then you win. I don't know. I'm not sure what the lore behind it is, but the ride experience, you even get to see this like crazy full Na'vi like in a tank, and he's cool and he's an animatronic, and I love a robot. This like scientist tells you that it's time to fly. Just like that. I love a motorcycle style seat, and that's what these have. Check the tester seat before you get on the ride, because, or if you wait an hour and then you end up in those seats, you can't. Check the tester seats. The wall raises and there's this giant screen. It's a wonderful ride. There are smells. I love a smell. It smells like flowers and stuff, so it's fun. And then eventually you land on a tree once your flight's over. It's super cool.
This ride has by far some of the longest lines in Walt Disney World, but it also has one of the most elaborately themed queues, and in my opinion, one of the most beautiful queues in Walt Disney World. The rock work, the caves, the waterfalls, the tributes to the banshees that the Na'vi have created through various mediums of art throughout the queue are so beautiful. The bioluminescent rainforest and the lab. You've really got to wait in line for this ride at least once just to see the queue. You do have the option now to purchase a lightning lane reservation, but keep in mind, you'll be missing a lot of the queue if you skip the line like that, so definitely consider waiting in line at least once.
Flight of Passage is one of the most popular rides in Disney World, often with the longest wait out of all 4 parks. The Lightning Lane pay-per-ride costs between $11 to $14 depending on the day, which makes it one of the pricier rides. Guests must be 44 inches tall to ride, and you can expect a fairly long standby line, although the queue is interesting with one of the most impressive animatronics around. The ride vehicle is really unique and kind of like getting on a bike, which means it's not always accessible to everyone. And the ride is crazy immersive as the vehicle simulates banshee breathing and it moves in sync with the 3D screen. Not to mention all the smells that permeate each scene.
A fan of Disney World said, "This is by far my favorite ride in Animal Kingdom. I don't know much about Avatar, but the theming on this attraction, from the queue to the pre-show and ride, is incredible. The concept of riding a banshee is really cool, and the actual ride is pretty fun."
Here's the thing about Flight of Passage. It has an incredibly low capacity, which is basically what determines a ride and how quickly the line moves, along with how popular it is. So you've got an incredibly popular ride with an incredibly low capacity, which is why the line is always so long. And they're always gonna prioritize the Lightning Lane. So what we've seen with Flight of Passage since Genie has rolled out is that the line is mostly very, very long, even at the end of the night, because a lot of people are just jumping in that line last thing. So if this is a must-do absolute for you, if you're a resort guest, definitely prioritize it during that early park access. But if you're not a resort guest or you don't want to go to the park that early, you might want to consider paying for it if this isn't a must-do for you.
The pros. This ride is Avatar through and through, from the land outside the ride to the queue and then the immersive ride experience. Even with a screen, the ride is so immersive and well done, it really feels like you're riding on a banshee. The ride vehicle saddle approach is really interesting and different from the typical ride vehicle in Disney parks. The cons? This is a ride that consistently has a long wait, so if you wait standby, you can expect to spend some time in line. Even if you use a Lightning Lane, you've still got 2 pre-shows to stand through. The unique ride vehicle might provide some issues for people who can't easily climb onto the seat. This one is mostly about the screen, so if you're not a fan of screen rides, maybe skip this one. And your pick for the very best fancy ride in Disney World: Star Wars: Rise of the Resistance. Duh. One of Disney World's most popular rides, it opened in December 2019 in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Disney's Hollywood Studios. This ride takes guests on a journey with the First Order and the Resistance, with multiple ride systems including a motion simulator, trackless ride vehicles, and even a drop shaft like Tower of Terror. Based on a mission from BB-8 and Rey to meet with General Leia Organa on the planet of Pakara, this ride is an experience to say the least. With several immersive pre-shows, Rise originally used a virtual queue system but has since added a standby line and Lightning Lane only accessible via individual attraction selection or pay-per-ride.
Heartbreak Chris said, "I know it's been said before, but I have to reiterate. This isn't an attraction, it's an experience. I love this ride so much. Trying to escape the First Order feels like a real-life adventure. I'm like Molly, where I genuinely was emotional during the ride. Nothing in the parks feels more real life than this. Recently, with the park deciding to go the standby queue, I truly hope everyone gets to experience this attraction."
Heartbreak Chris, you're not lying. I cry every time I ride this attraction. It is so incredible. It is the most overwhelming and immersive experience. And I'm not even a diehard Star Wars fan. I literally have a Harry Potter scrunchie in, but it is an incredible attraction. It is one of a kind, a must-do. Doesn't depend if you're a diehard Star Wars person or not. This attraction is the pinnacle of theme park attractions. It's incredible. And it is gonna have a very, 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 very long line for the majority of the day. Multiple hours most of the day. So for me, it is worth it to pay that to guarantee that I have a spot to be able to ride this attraction and not spend 2+ hours waiting in line when I could be riding and doing other things in Hollywood Studios. This is a must-do for me. This is an absolutely incredible experience, and this is for sure the #1 recommendation when it comes to paying for rides.
Rise of the Resistance has the most expensive pay-per-ride rate at $15 per person, but with a 40-inch height limit, this ride is still pretty family-friendly. You can expect a longer experience due to the multiple ride systems, with the ride experience adding up to about 18 minutes in total after the queue. guests first board a transport ship. And after the ship is attacked by the First Order, guests are then taken aboard the First Order ship where they are to be interrogated. You might actually get interrogated by First Order cast members, so prepare yourself with your best snarky Star Wars response. We'll avoid further spoilers, but you will see multiple audio animatronic figures and even a hologram of Rey.
Okay. For Rise of the Resistance, you can expect a long standby wait. In fact, for most of the day, Rise of the Resistance has an over 2-hour wait. That is so long. I waited 135 minutes for it. Technically, I waited 137 minutes for it the other day at Hollywood Studios for a video. That is so much time, and you are paying a lot of money to be in Hollywood Studios for the day. So there's a good reason why Rise of the Resistance tops this list, and that's just because that line stays long. I personally do think Rise of the Resistance is one of the most worth it rides to use that cost on, because that way you are basically buying back 2 hours of your park day and an hour of your park day that you would have been in line for Rise of the Resistance. It's worth it. It's a great ride. I wasn't even that mad waiting 137 minutes for it, but that's exhausting. I mean, like, bring a snack. I listened to like 6 episodes of a podcast. It was a really good podcast, but I mean, like, good enough to stand in a cave for 2 hours, because you're in a cave. Why must Disney make all queues caves? Who was like, listen, these people are going to be standing, a bunch of people, in a small enclosed space. What's the most claustrophobic thing we can put them in? Cave. What?
The pros. This is more than a ride. It's more than an attraction. This is the definition of an experience, and it's a full entrance into the Star Wars universe. This isn't just watching videos of scientists explaining how the ride works. The pre-show actually sets the scene for the ride narrative. This ride is just so well done and exciting, you'll probably leave with your jaw dropped. The cons? Look, we've observed ride wait times of 3 hours and more. Depending on when you visit, you might have a really long wait if you choose the standby line. At approximately 18 minutes long from the transport ship to the end, this isn't a short ride, and if you also had a long queue, it can feel extra long. Rise frequently breaks down, so you might end up waiting without being able to ride. And that does it for your list of the best fancy rides in Walt Disney World. How does this list work for you? Did your favorite ride make it, or do you feel like your fellow viewers missed the mark? Head over to AllEars.net to leave your reviews for everything Disney Parks related, hotels, restaurants, rides, and more. You have the power to change this list right now by leaving your very own review, and who knows, your opinion may be included in a future episode. If you like this video, go ahead and click on that thumbs up. Be sure to stay tuned to AllEars TV and AllEars.net for more Disney news. Follow us on social media at AllEars.net. New to the channel? Check out our other AllEars videos right up here. And please subscribe to AllEars.net. Clang the little notification bell and you'll immediately get notified when we post a new video. This is Chris for AllEars TV. See you next time.